Oh, to be a kid. All right, everybody, welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel, where I'm getting rained on right now. Came down to the beach to try and watch the sunset. No, try and watch the sunrise. And I'm getting soaked. We were hoping to catch a sunrise this morning, but instead it's cloudy. So, yeah, not gonna get to see much of a sunrise, and I think the rain is getting worse. Well, not quite the intro I was looking for, but at least it's some kind of different intro. So let's get over to the shop, get to work on the Cutlass. All right, y'all, well, we are back in the shop, and hopefully you like that different kind of intro there. So I've pre-thought that, like I had an idea what I was gonna do. Hopefully it worked out. I guess let me know in the comments if you think it worked out or not. Phone's ringing, it's down here on a Saturday. I'm not answering the phone because I gotta work on the Cutlass. Mostly need to get some more of this done up here, so that I can just keep plugging away on this thing and get it wrapped up. Like, I've really got to get some big progress done on this thing so we can get the body back off and get the rear frame rails notched, get the rear of the frame actually cut off. Lots and lots of stuff to do. And we've got, don't see that. We've got quite a bit of stuff to show you with Val's car. We did a decent bit of filming this week, or this past week, and I'm gonna have hopefully a pretty long video on that later next week, covering quite a bit of progress we've made on that. The Chevy 2 is back from blasting. Had to get it up out of the way because we were working on the Viper here till late last night, because Lee needed to take the Viper home. And it turned out to be a thrash at the last minute, but that's how they go sometimes. Had some stuff we had to do to the trailer, had to restack the clutch, had to do all kinds of stuff. But that's all done, and it's time to work on the Cutlass. So let me think about what I'm gonna do today, and then tell you guys. All right, so huge thanks to everybody that has subscribed to the channel recently and left some comments down there in the comment section. I try to get down there and reply to them as much as I can. And even bigger thanks to everybody who's been to the website at winwithksr.com and bought some merch. I'm wearing kind of just the basic shop shirt today, so I don't get my nicer graphic shirts dirty. But we've got a bunch of different shirts, hats, shirts. We've got some new hoodies coming out for winter time, because it's already kind of started to cool off here a little bit, which probably means that where some of you guys are up north, it's probably actually getting to be almost hoodie weather in the evenings. At least it would be for us Florida people, because anything below 80 we need a hoodie. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. Sorry, Florida people. But first order of business today, we are going to go ahead and make the cover for that, like I started to last week. I got my metal in. We're gonna go ahead and fill that little notch in right there. And I may even do the same thing over here so that I can go ahead and get the tube made that goes across the front. So I had planned to finish this notch, or the plating here, as well as, this piece and this piece this week after hours, or maybe even during business hours. But we were so slammed in the shop during business hours that I just had to not work on the Cutlass this week, and I wasn't feeling super great, so I had to I took my evenings off to get some rest, and I'm down here on Saturday morning early because Saturday afternoon, I'll be in Daytona because my youngest has a state USA gymnastics competition in Daytona tomorrow. So actually, about the time this video is coming out, I'm in Daytona with my girls, and she's competing in her gymnastics competition. So hopefully that all goes well. It's her first time in level 5, so pretty excited about that. And anyway, let's go fire up the new bandsaw that we got from Cutlass. That thing, we have used the daylights out of it this week already, and I don't think it's just because it's a new tool. Like, it's just that handy. So you can see we've got our new wall set up over here. Oh, and got our crimper finally set up on its custom toolbox. And as it turned out, like, we ended up putting all of our AN stuff in this box, like all our different tools. Like, this is an expander for doing the higher end crimp hoses, and then we've got all of our die sets and everything in the box here. Wheel the cart out to wherever project we're working on. Got our brake line straightener mounted to the back of it, as well as different flare tools down in the bottom. Kind of just ended up redoing this entire wall this week, at least from here to, you know, where the mini lathe and mill is. But I got my strip of chromoly plate in, 4130. This is the template traced out from the other side, so I'm gonna set up the time lapse, chop that up, see if I can get that welded in. Do the same for the other side. I do want to check the squareness because I was looking at things the other day, so I need to set up the laser because I was looking at the other upper frame rails the other day, and the passenger side one looked like it was up higher than the driver's side one. That's not ideal if that is the case. So the guys had the laser out for doing some stuff on the Viper, so I'll go grab the laser, get it set up on the center line of the car, and we'll check and see if they're straight. As long as they're straight, we're good. And then we'll make that tube that goes around the front, which means I need to go get the fenders down, possibly the front end. We'll see. But anyways, I got to get cranking so I can get this done and head to the beach. Let's get down here. All right, see the laser just going through kind of right-ish under the bolt there, which maybe I can take the bolt out, but you can basically see it's about the thickness of the nut below the hole. Over there, it's a 1/4 inch more. That's not good. That's not good at all. Hopefully I didn't just blind everything with the laser. Yeah. And you might have seen during the time lapse, I dropped the TIG torch, broke the cup, so I had to go get a new one. Yep, definitely goofed on that one. Ricky's here working on his Danger Ranger. He picked up another unicorn truck, 4-liter manual transmission. It's gonna be rowdy.
Whose truck is that?
Some guy
I don't know. He's in here now.
who fights crocodiles, apparently.
I do fight crocodiles.
Crocodile/alligators.
Crocodiles, alligators, they're very angry. They don't have any teeth.
Saving babies.
They have a bunch of teeth, no toothbrush, so they get very mad.
All right, well, let's see just how bad my frame situation is, where it's bent, because I know when I had lined up the lower control arm, those were all good. So I'm wondering if this thing got tweaked. It's almost like it's here forward that's curled up. So might have to just be a little mean to this thing with the hammer. And that's kind of another good thing with not doing this, because now I can, like, maybe it'll twist in here. Like, this will stay straight, but I'm gonna put a straight edge on this, or not the straight edge, the digital angle finder on that each side. It actually looks fairly same there. You can't really see it very good on the... It's tweaked a little bit. But I'm going to be a little more scientific with this. Tape measure, digital level. And then make a decision what I'm going to do. There might be some hammering with the big sledgehammer here in just a second. Things got to be square, right? Yep. Wish me luck. So the first part that I've got to establish is how bad out this thing actually is measuring wise. Like actual distances. Okay, I need to move this 1/4 of an inch. I need to move this part 1/8 of an inch. Funny thing is, I'm actually on the phone with Lee right now, talking to him about picking up the Viper. But, you know, I put some blue tape up there on the firewall so I could write my dimensions down as far as how different each hole is from the laser. So the upper control arm is mounted at an angle naturally where the front of it is higher than the back of it. For whatever reason, that's how GM originally designed it. And we're going to try and restore this thing back to its factory dimensions. I do have a sheet with all the printout of the factory dimensions, but really I just want to make sure that I get the frame rails square with each other. And another thing that kind of tipped me off to the situation here is that I noticed there was kind of a wrinkle in the outside of the frame rail, kind of right above that lower control arm mount. Kind of went at a little bit of a diagonal angle. I could just feel it when I was grinding on the frame. And you know, it kind of made me think that I should probably look into this a little deeper, but I just kicked it down the road and then decided today to actually get in there and figure out what exactly I needed to do, which you saw me smashing it with the big sledgehammer that we've got in the shop. I mean, it's a big one. You can really do some damage with that thing. But even that wasn't enough. I supported the frame. You can see I put a vertical piece just kind of between the frame and the floor, and I wanted the frame rail to bend beyond that vertical support. It wasn't happening. So I ended up having to make a vertical slit in the lower section of the frame rail so that I could get things to start moving. And once I made that cut, things moved around, and I was able to get the upper control arm mount square with the other side, verified it with a tape measure a bunch of times, put a little weld on it, verify some more, just to make sure that, you know, I'm not welding this thing and it's pulling back out of square again, because that can happen, especially when you kind of create a gap in, like when you're welding two pieces of metal together and there's a gap between them, like you're trying to fill that gap. That's when things will really, really move. So when I put the cut in the bottom of the frame rail to bend it, it definitely opened up like an 1/8 of an inch gap. So I kind of bridged that with filler rod, and then I'm going to do it on the inside of the frame as well, which is another nice thing about not having that piece, the box in the spring pocket. Like, because that's not there, I can easily get in and weld the inside of this piece as well as the outside, and that will fix everything. So a little bit of extra effort, but it's going to be a lot better in the end. It's funny, I'm actually videoing the real-time stuff because I forgot to turn the time lapse off, and now me and Ricky are talking about it, and yeah, that's it. Well, that was not what I was expecting to be doing today, but about run out of time. I gotta go get on the road, but we at least solved one problem. So laser through the hole driver's side, laser through the hole passenger side, and then I also measured on the height of the front hole here. So I measured from the center line of the hole down to the laser, which you see it showing up on my finger there. And we've got it where it's within like a 16th, and that's just gonna have to be close enough. So the lowers down here, this one is slightly off and very warm. The back is less slightly off, but those, the plan is to just slot them, weld a washer to it to where they are now back square and level with the frame. I don't know, I guess I should have checked that earlier. Assume the frame was good, which is on me because you should never assume with these things. And maybe some of it pulled when I was welding. That's definitely possible. But now that we've got it back straight, we'll keep a better eye on it going forward to make sure that it doesn't get like this again. And by the time I'm done with it, you'll never be able to tell, because I'll smooth that off there. I'm actually gonna fill in all those holes in the frame, patch this in here with a piece, fill that in so it's nice and smooth. But at least now I like that. You can see holes line up. Let's get the eye just right. Maybe that works. Can you see the hole through the other hole? It goes blurry, but you can see the laser through, pretty much through the middle of the hole. And that's gonna have to be good enough for today. So probably next week, hopefully, one evening I'll fix all the rest of that to get it to where it matches, you know, this side again. Look at that. Laser's dead. Time to go home. But we'll get that all situated, and by the time it's all said and done, it'll be good. And you won't even be able to tell. And that's the nice thing about metal. You can cut and splice and heat it up and beat it around and get it where it needs to be so that everything's square. I guess, where it needs to be, which is what I just said. Anyways, whew, that was an adventure there. Definitely not gonna lie about that, but I feel a lot better. It looks square just looking at it. The first thing that threw me off was this bar right here, which it looks like it's down now, which it's a touch lower, like closer to the frame rail on this side than it is over there. Like you can actually see this gap. That gap is bigger than this gap, but it was still way up. And just walking by it, I was like, I better check that. And this is what's nice about having the chassis jig. It would have been very obvious on the chassis jig because you just would have measured from the bolt holes down to the chassis, the floor of the chassis jig. I guess we're going to keep doing this kind of car, like Val's car and this car and Chevy 2 and all the other cars that we've built. I mean, you can get this stuff all worked out. As I've showed you guys, it's just a lot more work without a chassis jig, because if I had a chassis jig, especially if it was a steel base, I would have just welded a piece to it to come up, like basically welded a jig to it almost to come up and attach to this bolt hole at, say, 18 inches from the bolt hole to the floor of the chassis jig. Same with that, whatever that measurement is, make a piece that centers that up. But haven't had a chassis jig in the budget, but maybe that'll be our next big tool. There's a couple other small tools I want to get. I want to get a positioner. Yes, Eddie, yes. I want to get, Ricky heard me, dang it. We want to get a positioner for rotational welding on like intercooler piping, and I could have used it on some of the stuff I was doing for Val's car earlier this week, which you'll see in a video next week. But anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys for following along, watching me work through some of the mistakes and goof ups that get made along the way of your own project when you're rushing it instead of being more diligent like I am with other people's cars. Anyways, I guess we'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.